Speaking of, I know that I'm very behind on emails. I didn't even catch up with the last week. That's why I didn't email you back, God. You know what I mean? Or you, God. I never got up to last week's emails. That's how many emails I'm back behind. You know
I
what I
know
mean?
you get hundreds a day, probably. Like,
It's what to sift through too, but also sifting through emails that have nothing to do with nothing. And just bad music. I get a lot of bad music.
Oh shit.
I do, yeah.
let me ask you a question. Have you ever? Because I know you do your Renaissance and you write on all the great music and all the great artists that's not spoken on. Have you ever done something on the whack artists who just irk your fucking nerves when you hear that shit?
Honestly, there's a lot of bad music now, but I never hear it enough for it to bother me.
Don't give it the time when you
Yeah, and more in my life now, so I guess it's more Zen, right? Like more of a Zen moment. I spend so much time with great music. You know what I mean? So like, so many genres, so many things. Like, honestly, I spent the whole week in the catalog of Linda Ronstadt.
Really? Wow.
And it's
really?
and
You know
it's
how
because
posts came up on my Instagram today. It's weird you brought that up.
and it's
Linda Ronstadt.
the reason is because I've been finding people that have done diverse things.
She's very
And so,
diverse.
me as a journalist of music that makes music, I studied all the people that took that path though, like a Ted Jiwa that has written and continues to write great works on jazz history. Aurora Flores, the Boricua that wrote about so many classic salsa records and artists, and she became a singer later on in life. And she sings beautiful. You know what I'm saying? And so but it took a long time because she's interviewing legends and shit like that. So I took all these notes. Amiri Baraka, of course, you know what I mean? Who's really the benchmark for me. But I started studying Linda Ronstadt because I'm just trying to hear different songwriters. And I went back to the catalog that I had hers and was beefing it up too. And Linda Ronstadt actually could sing at higher octaves than country could utilize. You know what I'm saying? She could really sing everything. And she did opera. She did bolero albums, which are incredible.
Yep, and she does speak Spanish.
Yeah, because her name is German, but her father is German, but via Mexico. So her father's great grandfather's German via Mexico, then married a Mexican women there. So she has the Mexican blood in her, but that's how she has the Ronstadt name. But they grew up with all different types of music though. Her mother, who was white, was listening to jazz, Sinatra, Ella Fitzgerald, all this stuff. So all these different music. So in her catalog, she did albums, the bolero albums. But I studied her, and she didn't sing Spanish great, even though she sang it growing up. She didn't sing it properly. So like a Mexican bolero, Mexican ranchero music versus a Cuban bolero, or versus the way Mexicans sing it. There's different ways to sing it. There's different styles of singing. There's different cadences and emphasis. And she had to learn all that. And like, I didn't know that Ruben Blades taught her, like the legendary lyricist Sonero. So there were all these things I was learning about her, but just this willingness and ease to go into all these different things. I've been studying people that have succeeded with that. Because I was listening to her, and my father was like, you know what, I always thought she'd be bigger than she was and everything. I was like, she was. It's just that when she wasn't making pop records like, with Aaron Neville, right? Remember that song is a classic ballad, right? She was doing the bolero. She did 3 albums, as an example, 3 jazz albums with Nelson Riddle composing. Nelson Riddle, the guy that did most of the composing for Frank Sinatra. So she was in all these different things and doing them properly. She had the improvisation in the jazz.
She got sick.
Yeah, but later now
she
she has Parkinson's, so she can't sing anymore. But she did all of that. So I was like, yo, this is dope. Like, she did everything. When she started, she was doing folk music. She was out there with the hippies, so they were doing a lot of, a lot of that shit. Like, her first group, I forgot the group that she was in first. They was doing more of a hippie type style, hippie rock, shit like that. Then she did the country, so most of her music is country, but...
Right. She had the respect of her peers, though. Like, the contemporaries of that time,
well,
everybody was...
to put that to a thing, one of the classic albums she's known for is the Trio album. and that's with her, Emmylou Harris, and Dolly Parton, and that's considered a classic. So can't get bigger than that.
You
doing a
and you know what? You never really heard about Dolly Parton with drugs.
No.
Not Dolly Parton. I'm sorry. Linda Ronstadt.
No,
right?
no.
That whole crew. They've never really
No.
heard with them like dabbling.
I
in
did
that
learn
stuff.
in the I saw the Max documentary. I did learn that they did dabble with it though, but they hit a stump with that, and they got off of it. They realized it wasn't helping them, and they got off of it. So they got lucky with that. You know, which is there's a lot. You know, people don't talk about the stories of a lot of musicians that really do get off the drugs and build. Just like in our nation, they always say, "Oh, the gods, they be doing drugs and shit." Tell me about the gods that stopped and did incredible things. You know what I'm saying? They don't really talk about that. Like, for example, you was talking about Fakim, right?
Yes.
Fakim was like a lot of the gods. They did a lot of drugs. They went through their hard times and everything. But at the end of his life, right? And I know Inf knows, right? You know it very well. You document a lot of it, though. He was at a very scholarly peak.
Yes.
He was very focused on what he was building on, his ideas, his thesis statements, like, and honestly, he would be in my classroom taking real notes.
Really?
Like real notes. He would open a book pad and take real notes. He would add on, but a lot of times he would be quiet though and be asking me, well, what books you dealing with now? What books are you doing? Yeah, he would be about that. You know?
Yeah, I've been watching the golf for years.
So he was, he's hit a real studious peak at the end of his life.
If Mecca did this.